Why can't we use all available land for agriculture?
There are many ecological factors. We need to have forests. We must use only the available land for agriculture. If we try to cultivate on more land, we will have to destroy forests.
Then what are the methods that one can apply to increase food production on the available land without destroying forests?
Look at the options. Increase the cultivable land. Use the available land to increase food production. Develop high-yielding varieties. Practice alternating crop methods. Practice mixed farming methods. Cultivate short-term crops. Let us examine each option for its merits and/or demerits. The first option has to be ruled out, as it will mean destruction of forests and an upset ecological balance. The better options are 2 and 6. We must devise methods to increase food production in the existing fields. This can be done by developing high-yielding varieties which are also disease-resistant and provide good nutrition. Institutes like ICRISAT, ICRISAT, agricultural universities, etc. have and are developing a number of new high-yielding varieties. Another method is adopting alternating crop or crop rotation. Crop rotation is the practice of growing a series of dissimilar, different types of crops in the same area in sequential seasons. It gives various benefits to the soil. A traditional element of crop rotation is the replenishment of nitrogen through the use of green manure in sequence with cereals and other crops. Crop rotation also mitigates the build-up of pathogens and pests that often occur when one species is continuously cropped, and can also improve soil structure and fertility by alternating deep-rooted and shallow-rooted plants.
What is mixed crop? Do they plant two different types of crop in the same field, paddy and maize?
Mixed cropping. Mixed cropping is growing of two or more crops simultaneously on the same piece of land. It is also known as multiple cropping. This type of cropping leads to an improvement in the fertility of the soil and increases in crop yield. The products and refuse from one crop plant help in the growth of the other crop plant and vice versa. Mixed cropping is an insurance against crop failure in abnormal weather conditions. It also helps the farmers to improve its yield and economy and avoid crop failure, which was very common in India and Asian countries. We will learn more about crop rotation and crop mixing a little later. We can broadly classify the methods of crop improvement as improving high-yielding varieties, crop production management, and crop protection management.
What are the factors that help in obtaining high yield?
Water plays an important role. In addition to water nutrients, especially nitrogen influences the yield.
How?
Look at this graph. On the x-axis is the gradation of nitrogen supplied to a crop in 1 hectare of land. On the y-axis is the yield in tons per 1 hectare of land. There are two graphs lined in the grid. The blue line represents crops which are supplied with sufficient amount of water. The red line represents the crops which are supplied less quantity of water. What do you understand from this graph?
The yield in crops supplied with sufficient water was more than those supplied with less water. The rate of increase in the yield is almost the same between 50 to 100 kilograms of nitrogen supplied. But the yield reduced in crops supplied with less amount of water as the supply of nitrogen increased. The yield remained almost constant as it was when supplied with more nitrogen. The yield, though, did not increase, the reduction is negligible.
Wonderful! It derives a conclusion that sufficient water and an optimum amount of nitrogen are needed for a good yield. Higher amounts of nitrogen do not increase the yield. In the absence of sufficient water to plants, the yield reduces drastically. Hence, it is important to supply sufficient quantities of water and optimum nitrogen. The supply of correct quantity of water at the right time on fields is termed as irrigation. Do you know why water is important to plants? No? Okay, I will explain you that in next module.